How's it going, guys? Chris here. Today we're going to be watching 27 minutes of debt problems. So bad, they'll leave you speechless. This will be primarily, this is all American-based debt problems, but man, like you can relate to them, hopefully you can't relate to them, and this is just like opening your eyes that people are this crazy, for lack of a better word, stupid about money. So let's get into it.
What's the total debt, Katie?
Including mortgages,
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
4.5 million. But we felt like God showed us.
4.5 million. That's what we're in for. We're going to skip ahead. Full video link is below. So if you want to get into it, if you want to watch it without me talking, make sure to click it.
Which is why we've been holding for 5 years through 2 bull runs, 3 specific coins. The reason we invest in crypto in the first place is obviously we are Christian and we do not gamble and don't think gambling is okay, but we felt like God showed us these 3 specific coins that we're invested in.
Like a crystal ball.
And we have just been waiting for the right time for him to show us when to sell, which is why we've been holding for 5 years through 2 bull runs.
Arabella, I'm upset with this. I'm upset that you're telling us this.
Really bad theology, Arabella.
Just right off the bat, the mental gymnastics saying that we're Christians and we don't gamble. God was the reason why we have these cryptocurrencies. Now, she didn't.
I mean, crypto is not gambling, obviously, when it only goes up, right? Until it, crashes, which it has done quite often. But I haven't invested in crypto. Do I wish I had? Fucking yeah. If you look at Bitcoin, that's a crazy increase, but it just, I don't know. I get it, and then I don't get it. It's a bit stupid. I'd love to hear what you guys think about crypto below, but justifying your bad decisions because God told you to do it, man, that's that's saying like I'm not a murderer, I'm a Christian, but God told me to kill that man, so I did what God wanted me to. That's not going to hold up now, is it? So that's
say
crazy.
what she was holding and saying the examples of people praying for money to just appear out of thin air. I'm not trying to make fun of you if you're religious or not. I don't care either way. But putting your financial future at stake or justifying gambling in cryptocurrency in the hands of a higher power seems like an extremely dangerous game to me. And just mentioning cryptocurrency online, the entire space is so shady now that when you look at the comment section, it is full of bots with this random Diane Walter, some sort of grifter, from weakness to strength, from grass to grace, and from nothing to something at Diane.
Yeah, I've been getting a few of those comments on my videos, so I'll talk about that. Like, there's this one guy's like, yeah, I wasn't lucky to be financially literate like you. A lot of people, they wait until they're like 30 to dig themselves out of a hole, but this guy really helped me. And it's like, you know what? Well, actually, they don't say that this guy really helped me in the comment, but then they, it's crazy how good bots are these days. So they make that comment, and then they get another bot to comment, oh, how did you work out your financial situation? How did you fix your problems or whatever? And then he replies with, oh, this guy showed me how to do it. It's funny as. If you see one of those comments below, just laugh when you read it, eh?
Walter,
I'm not in that relationship. I was an idiot. I was in love with a man that convinced me to co-sign on a 2019 Jetta in the fall of 2021. I'm not in that relationship anymore. But anyway, last summer I convinced him to turn the vehicle back into the dealer, basically voluntarily repossess it. He could not pay the payment on time, and I was also helping him, and he made more than me.
How much money do you have?
Well, I'm on baby step 1. I'm just starting out.
You don't have any money.
I don't have any money. I have $3,000 in credit card debt that I have consumer credit.
What do you make?
$61,000 a year.
Okay. What was owed on the Jetta? Do you know?
$29,000 and change.
Okay. Let's say there's a $15,000 deficit when you're done, and they come to you as the co-signer, and they want $15,000. Well, the first thing you tell them is what you told me. I have no money.
So I think this one's pretty straightforward.
That's a difficult situation, right? Like, me personally, like my partner bought a car. I did not co-sign on it because at the end of the day, we're not married. If she wanted me to co-sign on it, I probably would have. Like, we're in a long-term relationship. So You know, maybe that's dumb on me for doing that, but like I would have done that if she asked. But, you know, in this situation where the dude makes more than the chick, you know, if the dude can't afford the car, then he shouldn't be needing her to co-sign, especially when he's making more. So, like, whoever makes more in the relationship, if they can't afford the car, you know, without the other partner putting into it and they're not married, then yeah, you shouldn't be co-signing. I don't know. That's a bit of a red flag. Obviously, they're both pretty financially literate, considering she's got, you know, $3,000 in credit card debt, which is not that bad. There's obviously a lot worse than that, and we'll get into that. But, you know, it's a little bit silly. But it happens to people, right?
Cosigner, whether it is your friend or family or significant other, can lead to things like this, especially if you end up breaking up or if you're not on the same page financially. And I guess one of the positives about this is that it's just a Jetta and not some big Mercedes SUV that's $90,000, but still 29 grand.
You know, you can get out of the hole pretty easy on that one.
About a house.
$15,000 deficit is still a significant amount of money, and she said that she didn't really have anything. These types of situations can set you back pretty significantly.
I bought a house a few years ago, and I discovered soon enough that it was a bit of a lemon. Since then, I've been sort of spending all of my time repairing this house and trying to get it up to market value in hopes to, rent it or sell it or do something with it that could be profitable.
How much is your mortgage payment?
It's $5,300 a month.
And what is your take-home pay, sir?
My take-home is about $7,700 a month.
Your mortgage payment is $5,000, and your take-home is $7,000. How do you eat?
It's been tricky.
Are you running up credit card debt?
I don't have any consumer debt. No,
is there money somewhere else coming in or going out? How in the world? That's an impossible budget.
So this touches on a few issues with...
Yeah. Here in Australia, that's going to become a pretty common thing. Especially when people, you know, they're buying, like, house prices in Australia are insane. You're looking at $800,000 as your median price, right? So, you know, that's a good $1,000 a week in mortgage repayments for 30 years. Like, if you're making $100,000 a year, right, you're only bringing in $1,500 after tax. So that's what 66% of your income is going towards paying off a mortgage. Obviously, the banks wouldn't loan that to you. Banks here in Australia, well, I wouldn't think. They're pretty strict, I've heard, but I haven't got a loan yet. I'm only, 23, so technically I could. Technically, I could get a house. I could get a loan. I've got a decent deposit there, but man, it's hard to justify spending that much. The only way you can justify spending that much is if you assume house prices are going to continue going up, which, in all honesty, they sort of look like they're going to. You look at the government and how much they're putting into housing, but yeah, this guy's off the rails, right? He's so house poor, like he's house rich. What's the saying? I don't even know. He's like house rich, but asset or cash poor. You know, he's got no cash because all his money is going straight into this house. I don't know if this house is worth a lot of money. Could be, could not be. But yeah, it's just a really crazy situation to be in.
The housing market. First off, he ended up buying a house, and then it immediately starts falling apart. Tons of repairs, the cost is crazy. We've seen many examples of that on this channel. And then the second part, overextending. $5,000 a month mortgage, which that in and of itself is just crazy to me. And then his take-home pay is $7,700 a month. Almost everything is going into that house. I really don't know how he doesn't have debt. Possible car payment, even if he has a paid-off car, the insurance, any of the utilities, utility bills, the phone bill, internet as well, food prices on top of it. I have no idea how this guy's surviving. Some of the comments here, my question is, how did he get a mortgage in the first place? I wouldn't say we're at the same level of the '08 financial crisis when people were getting loans for houses that they had absolutely no business getting, but we are creeping up to that because I've even looked up myself, wanting to see how much I would qualify for, and it was way higher than it should have actually been. That doesn't math, what bank allowed that, a lot of those types of comments. I honestly don't know how he would survive that situation other than selling the house. Hopefully he would make some sort of profit with it, but he said it was a lemon house.
And that's the other problem. Like, it's not just like if he makes a profit selling the house. Like, it's not even a matter if the house price is actually higher than what he bought it for. Closing costs are so expensive these days. Like, you think about it, they're percentage based for one. So as house prices go up, the more you've got to fork out for these closing costs of selling a house. And yeah, like I've done a few videos on that where, you know, even if you, like a lot of people bought their house maybe 3-4 years ago, and even though house prices have increased significantly, the likelihood of some of these people not actually even making any money on their house if they needed to sell because they can't afford the mortgage is, you know, there's a high percentage of people like that, because although house prices went up, you know, 100, 200 grand, like they might have had maintenance in that time, you know, they might have renovated, closing costs might be 30, 40 grand to just sell that house, you know, and then they've got to move all their stuff. Like, it's expensive business, selling houses.
He's been doing
just because working together stressed him out and he didn't want to argue. I thought we lived a good life, but on a recent vacation, I overheard him checking account balances on our credit cards and became concerned. So I started quietly researching. I discovered he was tearing up financial documents and throwing them away so I couldn't see them. He has depleted 95% of a job buyout and taken loans on what little retirement savings he had, less than $100K. There's some significant deceit, whether it's an addiction, it's somebody else he's in love with, or he's got other pet projects he's trying to work through. This is not just to avoid confrontation. This is because he has a different life.
I mean, they think that he might be living a double life. I immediately think that he's keeping up the charade, keeping up with the Joneses, whatever you want to call it, saying that he made 6 figures. You don't have to do anything. You're a stay-at-home mom now. We'll go on vacation, have the perfect life that everybody wants. And maybe at the beginning he could swing all of this, but business goes up and down, whether you're self-employed or working at a corporation, maybe getting laid off. And he's just scrambling to try to keep that life that they can't afford. I mean, depleted 95% of a buyout, taking out personal loans. I mean, the guy is cooked. All to make it look like they have a nice, perfect, happy life to other people. We have a comment from one of you guys.
Yeah, not just other people, but his partner. He's trying to keep up the charades for the partner because, you know, he might be insecure about whether the partner will stick around after she finds out that they're in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and, you know, he's not as successful as he is. And, like, there's a lot of pride in that in itself, right? Like, people like to feel like they are successful and they will do whatever they can to look and feel successful, not just for others, but themselves and their partners. So, yeah, keeping up with the Joneses, it's a dangerous life, right? And that's the problem. Like, we hear a lot about the cost of living crisis, and I talk a lot about it, and yes, it's a real thing, but for a lot of people out there, it's, you know, a cost of, like, it's just a spending crisis. People just want to spend so much to, you know, keep up with their influencers. Like, social media is like a big, you know, like if you live on social media and you watch it all day and you see all these people flaunting their money, having so much wealth, being so successful, you want to look like them, be like them. And at the end of the day, that's just a recipe for disaster. That's just putting yourself in a crappy spot, and it's not healthy. And especially when the debt piles up like to hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's not ideal.
Happy to be
a nurse now for 2 years.
Way more money than the average, should be living a very nice, comfortable life, but they end up having virtually no money to their name.
I recently started working. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse now for 2 years. And I really didn't have any credit card debt. And then as soon as I started working, I started spending, and now we're about $55,000 in credit card debt, and I don't know how to get out of it. Both my husband and I make a decent amount of money, and we just need to figure out the right way to go about it.
Do you still have the credit card?
Yes, I still have them. I lock them all, and I'm trying to pay them all off, every month, but it just doesn't seem to be going very far.
What's your household income?
I make about 100, and my husband makes about 230, 250. It ranges with his overtime.
Okay, so you're making $350 household. What caused you to go, we don't have enough money? Out of $350,000, I need to go $55,000 in credit card debt. What caused that?
Well, I guess every month we're down to like 50 cents of left in our account, and we're trying. We don't.
Where is $30,000 going every month, even in New York City?
Just from her voice, I knew they.
Yeah, that's crazy. $30,000 a month you're spending. Obviously, I would assume there's taxes on top of that, so 15 grand even. 15 grand a month. That's good money. There's no need to go into debt when you're making that much money, and yet this person seems to go into debt. And I think at the beginning of the story, it was she's just started working and then went into debt. And what does that indicate? I guess to me, like Keeping Up with the Joneses, like they're just they're spending so much to look like they're having the best life. They're probably going on holidays all the time. They have to be. Like, what can you spend? Like, comment down below. What are you spending that much money on? I couldn't even imagine. Couldn't fathom spending that much money. Yeah, it's insane. Like, you should be able to get by on $6 grand a month pretty comfortably. After taxes, what's that? That's, let's say comfortably is probably like $8 grand. $2 grand a week after taxes. You can get by on that. That's, there could be a couple struggles here and there, especially here in Australia. Some things might be hard, especially if you have kids. But, yeah, I don't know. 15K is a significant amount.
From the Northeast. It sounded like another situation Keeping Up with the Joneses. This clip goes on for a while, and she never really gives an explanation, because at $300,000 or $350,000 a year, how can you not pay off a $55,000 credit card? She would also try to make it sound like they weren't spending that much money every month, so I guess it was just disappearing. I don't know. We've seen situations like this where they'll call into Dave Ramsey, these financial shows, asking for help, but then not telling the entire story. So clearly you're not actually.
Yeah, they must be spending like 10 grand a month on housing, and cars and all the luxury things that you can get by on a lot less. That has to be it.
Serious about fixing the situation, and overall they're just going to be stuck in their ways. We can look at a couple of the comments. She's leaving something out. How do you go from a $3,000 mortgage to $7,000 household expenses? None of the things she was rattling off with the prices made sense compared to the amount of income. Someone in the relationship is supporting another person. Something isn't adding up. It could be something like that. My guess is that they are just spending way more than they should. Goes along with a comment from one of you guys. We think we have an income problem, but really we have a spending problem. I think one of the perfect examples of this, if you look up overconsumption versus underconsumption, many of the clips of underconsumption core is honestly just normal consuming. We're just so hardwired to want more and more. Whenever there's a new item, new piece of tech that comes out every year, every 6 months, you do that for years and then decades, that just becomes how you think. Way more money gets siphoned out of your bank account because of that all the time, buying little things that you really don't need, and then you find yourself paycheck to paycheck, barely surviving.
It's crazy to think that, I don't know, I've never been really like that. I always regret stuff when I buy it. I don't know why. There's not many things in life that I've bought, technology-wise, that I've been like, wow, this has changed my life forever, and I don't regret it. They're all, sort of fad things. You get it, and you're like, oh, yeah, it's pretty cool for, a week or two, and then you forget about it. That's most things in my life that I buy. So I've just realized that, okay, well, when I go to buy something, just sit on it for a week and think, okay, do I really need this? And then after a week, if I'm like, yeah, I really need it, then I buy it. Even then, you still buy shit that you don't need, but it at least clears out a lot of that impulse purchasing by just, giving it a couple of days, waiting it out and seeing if, okay, do I really need it? That's my little tip on, not over consuming. I'd love to hear what you guys think and what you guys do yourself.
About $130,000 in debt.
On what?
And a lot of it is, the majority is my truck and my wife's car.
Which is how much each?
The truck is 40,000, and the wife's car is at 15,000.
But go ahead.
It's only 30,000 a year right now.
You said 30,000?
What?
Yes.
Your income is $30K?
Yes. I quit my business because I was going through a struggle for a short period of time, and I decided that I'm just going to quit, go for a job, and it didn't work out. So I started a new company.
Until your business is making you enough money to float your lifestyle, it's really just a hobby or a side hustle. And I commend you for starting that business, but it's not making enough money to manage your household bills, obviously.
So this goes into some of those clips. If
I will quickly mention this one. Yeah, if you're, you can't just jump, headfirst into a career or a new job or starting a business, right? Like, if you had a successful business, then you keep running it. Obviously, he did not have a successful business, so he shut that down, and then he went into working a job. And then he didn't like the job, so he went and started another business that was making him no money. So that makes no sense. Like, you can't just do that. You need to, run that business on the side until it makes you a significant amount of money that you could quit your job. Like, it's crazy that some people just think that, just going full-time in a business will instantly be successful, will make it successful. Like, you hear in Australia, like, over 50% of businesses fail within, I don't know, I think it's like the first 2 years, if not 5 years. Like, most businesses, small businesses fail very early on. And it's just the way it is. Like, you go into business the first, maybe 1 or 2 years, if it is being successful, are good. But then the stress builds up, the bills pile up, and you just maybe realize maybe it's not as successful as you think it was. And, that could all be prevented if you went slow and started it off as a side hustle and slowly built it up. Then you could see, okay, maybe after the first year of doing it as a side hustle, is it like making me enough worth the time? Like, if I quit my job and did this full time, will I make more than my job? And if the simple answer is no, then you don't do it. You just keep it as a side thing, passion project, make a bit of extra dollars. Simple as that.
you ever looked up on TikTok, just quit your normal 9 to 5, start a business. You'll be much happier and be able to make a lot more money. Maybe that is the case for some people, but in this example, it's not working out. At least now, only $30,000 a year while driving around in a $40,000 truck and another $15,000 loan on top of it. So I'm not trying to belittle or stop anybody from starting their own business. My best advice is to start something while you already have a possible normal 9 to 5 job or part-time job, something with at least a bit of steady income, instead of jumping into the deep.
And, you hear a lot of people saying, oh, you can't do that. Like, you work in, 40 hours a week. Like, it's no way you can, start your own business on the side on top of working on. Like, obviously, those people are retarded because, if you start your own business, you're never going to be working just 40 hours a week. Most times, unless you do some online thing where it becomes very successful and very profitable very early on. But most businesses that will get started up will be well over the 40 hours a week to keep it running and keep it afloat. So, when you work only 8 hours a day, you have 24 hours a day, you have 8 hours of sleep, you have 8 hours of work, and then you have 8 hours of free time. At least you can use that 8 hours to start a business, start a side hustle, whether that's only 3 or 4 hours a day you dedicated to it. Like, everyone has enough time to do it if they really want to.
end and hoping you'll float and survive and pay all the monthly bills. Some of the comments, I don't know why people call with issues like this. If you don't want to be in debt, sell the cars. Why do you need someone to tell you this? Step 1, sell both cars and get the cheapest reliable one. Another comment from one of you guys, $1,000 is not a lot of money to have, but is a lot of money to owe. And I definitely think that resonates with many people in today's world. $1,000 will disappear almost instantly on expenses, but when you start owing that kind of money to credit cards, to car payments, especially when we're talking about interest, it gets out of hand very quickly.
And not only that, but to pay that $1,000 back, you know, if you can save $200 a week, not including interest, right? That'll take you still 5 weeks to pay that back. $200 a week savings is, you know, it's not a huge amount of money, but it's definitely something. Like, that's a significant amount of money for a lot of people. So owing $1,000 is tough. That makes it real hard.
Parents asked me for 40 to 50K for a down payment for a second home.
Oh God, no! Don't do that.
Okay, well, can
They
Michael
Sorry,
finish
sorry,
his
sorry.
question?
Okay, go ahead.
So they currently live about 10 hours away from the rest of us siblings, and they don't have the down payment for that home. The reason for them not being able to move and be closer to us is my father is waiting to finish 5 more years at his job to collect a pension, and they're wanting to have the flexibility to be closer, but to have their own place. I'm 25 years old, just got out of my own debt, and I'm really unsure what to do.
So what they're asking you is a couple of things. They've created a set of principles for their life. We're going to stay here for 5 more years. We don't want to be uncomfortable when we travel. We want to have our own place. Problem is they're grown adults, but they can't afford these principles they've put into motion. So they come to their 25-year-old child and said, you make our dreams that we can't afford. You make our principles concrete because we can't.
Right.
And it's not your job. And by the way, this will mess up your relationship. I would tell you there's a financial reason to not do this, but the main thing is, dude, it will mess up your relationship with your dad.
And
that is a crazy thing to hear. If you have any sort of similar story to that, just comment that below. That's insane to ask you a kid that's 25 years old. That's still a lot of kids living at home, so it's pretty good for him that he's able to move out of home. But then to ask them to give you a down payment to buy a house like closer to them so they can come see you, that's a bit ridiculous. Why not just go to a hotel? Like, what's that house that they're going to buy you? What's it going to be doing when you're not living there? Unless it can be used as an Airbnb, that's a waste of money.
Definitely agree with that. Mixing finances with your family can be very bad. I also think it's pretty dangerous to start up a business with a family member if you're not on the exact same financial page.
I'll disagree on that one. Like, I started a business with my brother. It lasted maybe 2 years. It was a bit of an online sort of thing. We are pretty different in terms of how money rolls and stuff. Like, was it successful? Sort of. Like, we ended up making more money than what we started with, but it was, a side hustle for both of us, and we did it together. And it worked out. It was, a bit rough at the end, but yeah, like, if you and your parent, like your brother or your sister want to start a business, it's doable. It's 100% doable. It's just, you got to look at it and really understand, is this the best situation for you? And if it works out and you think it's going to work out, give it a shot. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Just understand that money at the end of the day is money, and family's family. So you forgive them for anything, or, if shit hits the fan.
Even if the business becomes successful, maybe one person wants to take it in one direction and you want to take it in the other, and everything starts to implode from there. And I mean, having your parents ask...
But that's the same with any business partner, really.
You for a $50,000 loan when you're 25 years old and just got out of your own debt really seems like a fast way to open up a rift in the family. We can look at some of the comments. What kind of parents would even think of asking this? Asking a 25-year-old child for that much money is wild. Dad should be ashamed. And another comment from one of you guys that goes well with this. With lending to a family, the general rule that I use, if you're going to loan money to a family or friend, then do it assuming you're never going to get paid back at all, and only give them an amount that you feel comfortable with never seeing again. Because if you constantly have to ask your uncle or your cousin for the couple $100 or couple $1,000 that they borrowed from you, it's almost guaranteed to start problems with whoever it is, and in the end does not seem worth it for the headache.
I am $230,000.
I'm going to end this video here, guys. If you want to watch the full video, make sure to check it out below. Love to hear if you guys enjoy these types of videos, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.